Donald Trump is at it again, and with it, the Congress party in India. After Trump claims that Indian Prime Minister has given him an assurance to stop buying Russian oil, the Congress party has jumped immediately into this diplomatic row, attacking the PM of giving in to US pressures. Trump's claims have achieved a level of notoriety that even his own citizens take them with a pinch of salt. So why should any Indian party keep his word above its own government's? That's the big question. After all, there have been no proofs from the US administration to substantiate any of Trump's claims on either India-Pak ceasefire mediation or now import of Russian oil. In fact, all evidence and statements by third parties prove Pakistan begged US and Saudi Arabia to save them from Indian military's wrath, and eventually their DGMO called us. Similarly, all evidence presents a very different reality on Russian oil. India has not denied that they are keen to expand their oil portfolio. But that doesn't mean that India will do so by giving up any of its own interests. The fact that the Indo-US trade deal hasn't moved forward, or the fact that US imposed 50% tariffs on India, prove that India did not give in. But despite that, some in the country are running on a campaign that allege that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is weak. Will that work? Will the public buy that? We take that and more with our guest joining us in just a bit. But first up, let's break down this entire story for you. Last evening, US President Donald Trump indicated there was dissatisfaction that he has said earlier as well, with India continuing to buy oil from Russia despite global tensions and sanctions. Now, India has responded by emphasizing that its decisions are driven by national interest. Russia too has supported India's stance, affirming that India's choices align with its own sovereign interests. So what else did Trump say? He claimed Prime Minister Narendra Modi personally has assured him that India will stop purchasing Russian oil. Where did this claim come from? Frankly, even nobody in the US will be able to tell you. India has countered that firmly, clarifying that their import policies are based on securing energy needs, not political promises or any diplomatic assurances. Russia has reiterated this earlier today, that their ongoing energy cooperation respects and supports India's priorities. Trump also said that even if India hasn't stopped now, it will do so in the near future. India has stated that its focus is on maintaining energy supply stability and price stability. That is what is guiding our purchases. Russia has also criticized tariffs and sanctions as resistance to a multipolar world order. However, figures put the entire debate over Russian oil into crucial perspective by exposing the West. It has done so in the past when they were blaming India inordinately as far as Russian oil imports were concerned, and now when they're claiming that India is stopping its Russian oil imports. So what does the data show? That China is still overwhelmingly the dominant customer as far as Russian crude oil is concerned, spending about 5.5 billion euros on Russian fossil fuels. India is the second largest buyer at 3.6 billion euros. This list also includes Turkey at 2.6 billion euros, and even the European Union, mind you, a body which has imposed significant sanctions, it is still spending €1 billion as far as buying Russian energy is concerned. So there is obviously duplicity and hypocrisy on both counts. But let's break this down as far as India's oil procurement trend from Russia is concerned, because the suggestion by some is if we were buying earlier, we have actually taken it down a notch. But is that the truth? You look at the trend over the past 4 months. India's share of Russian oil imports saw a sharp decline of about 10 points from June, which was around 44.7%, to 34% by July itself, right? This is the percentage of Russian oil which is part of Indian imports. Russia's share as far as Indian oil imports are concerned. But in August, the Russian share was back up at 37.8%, and in September again it maintains a consistency, staying at about 34%. So there is nothing to suggest that there has been some massive decline in the amount of Russian oil that we were importing at the behest of the US, or even to placate the US. Even as India has said that they are willing to diversify their oil portfolio, that doesn't mean that they have given into any demands. There is no concrete proof to suggest that. So is there any merit in Trump's claim, a look back at President Trump's statements on key policy issues reveal that there's a consistent pattern of exaggerations. That's what he is known for. Donald Trump is known for his hyperbole, for making statements that really cannot be verified or statements that are absolutely untrue. So firstly, the recent remark regarding energy imports by India. Trump claimed Prime Minister Modi has agreed to stop Russian oil. The reality is that India continues to buy a substantial amount of Russian crude, and there has been no official pledge that has ever been made by India. On foreign policy, for example, Trump asserted that his tariff threats on India and Pakistan forced both of them to halt their recent conflict. He had claimed that US mediated it and then claimed that tariff was one of the reasons. But this has obviously been firmly denied by India. It also, of course, shows the fact that India has not bent, given that Donald Trump eventually ended up slapping high tariffs on India, which means that India did not relent. Concerning US energy independence itself, Trump has repeatedly claimed that US no longer needs foreign oil since it is totally energy independent. The fact is that US remains a net energy importer, maintaining a dependence on Canadian, Mexican, Middle Eastern crude oil as well. Lastly, for example, on consumer costs, Trump has claimed to his domestic audience that gas is below $2 in several US states. The reality is, or the fact is, that during the same period, gas has averaged above $2 to $3 in most states, with grocery and energy prices consistently on the rise. So it's not just about what he says internationally, even domestically, a lot of his claims have been debunked. But it comes to the question of why Russian oil is so important, both for America and for us. Russian oil is significant for India, especially in the current global energy and geopolitical landscape, which is why India is very clear it is not going to give in. Firstly, it helps India in diversifying its oil sources, lowering dependence on certain countries, reducing its risk in this volatile geopolitical world. Sanctions have made Russian oil cheaper, helping India cut its energy costs. It's a large country with a large number of people. India's growing energy demand also requires stable supplies, which Russia is providing. India's oil trade with Russia is, of course, a very key component of its strategic ties with Russia, which India will not dilute just to please US. And Indian refineries are also suited to process Russian crude oil, which is something that they're doing. Every time Trump makes a claim, though, the Congress jumps in to question the center, and that is the big political debate in India. Once again, Rahul Gandhi accused the Prime Minister of being scared of Trump. He has posed questions which, again, do not match the reality, both in terms of what the Indian government have said and ground reality in India. So, for example, Rahul Gandhi has claimed today that Prime Minister has allowed Trump to dictate India on oil purchases. But the fact is that India is continuing to purchase from Russia. There hasn't been any significant dip as far as that is concerned, as I've shown. Rahul says that Modi sends congratulatory messages despite the fact that Donald Trump has been snubbing the Indian Prime Minister. But what's the reality? It's actually Trump who called Prime Minister on his birthday to break the ice and vowed to boost ties, indicating a cordial and strong level of personal and diplomatic engagement. Rahul has questioned the cancellation of Finance Minister's visit to America. Not that that means anything as far as US is concerned, but the fact is that the Finance Minister cancelled that visit after Pahalgam attack, showing the cancellation was due to more a domestic security reason. Rahul, for example, has questioned the reason why Prime Minister skipped the recent Sharm el-Sheikh summit in Egypt. The fact is that Prime Minister skipped it because it was a strategic counter to Pakistan, suggesting the decision was more a deliberate diplomatic move than anything else. And in hindsight, it has turned out to be an absolutely correct decision to make, given how foreign leaders, heads of states were treated at that meeting. Finally, Rahul has claimed that the Prime Minister does not contradict Donald Trump since Operation Sindoor and since the fallout of this entire mediation claim. But fact is that the Indian Prime Minister has made statements. He has categorically said that it is Pakistan that asked India for that ceasefire. So with all of this in mind, the big question today is that even as Trump is making his oil bluff or his diplomatic bluffs, his business bluff for India and other countries, why should Indian parties trust America more than its own government? That debate is coming up.
He's assured me there will be no oil purchased from Russia.
Indian government is, as I said, is acting having in mind the interests, the national interests of this country.
मुझे आश्वासन दिया गया है कि भारत रूस से तेल नहीं खरीदेगा। प्रधानमंत्री चुप हैं।
Let's go across to our guest joining us, Karan Verma, political analyst, Anmol Panwar, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party with us, Rajiv Dogra is former diplomat, and Tara Karta, former director of NSCS, is also with us. Anmol, I begin with you. How does it look if Indian parties, just to score a point domestically against the Prime Minister, start parroting what the US President is saying? His remarks on Indian economy earlier, and now his claims that India is, stopping Russian oil imports, even though the truth is completely devoid in his statements.
Shivani ji, good evening. In diplomacy, words matter, but sometimes what's left unsaid matters even more. And right now, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's silence sounds dangerously like surrender. History will not remember the fine print of MEA's bland statement which they have given today. It will remember that when a president of United States of America, Donald Trump, mocked our country time and again, our Prime Minister chose silence. When the US President Donald Trump repeatedly claimed that Prime Minister has assured him that there will be no oil purchases from Russia, the statement should have been immediately prompted a firm and unambiguous denial from the Prime Minister
this is the
itself.
first time. One second. Anmol, this is the first time he has claimed this, that India has made any such assurance. So far, he and his lieutenants, if I can call them that, his advisors and aides, were only attacking India for not listening to them. Now, suddenly,
Shivani,
one day, Donald Trump wakes up and says, we have assured him. God only knows where this assurance has been given. Why are you putting so much weightage to what he's saying?
Even in the past, Shivani ji, we have seen that when Donald Trump imposed tariffs on India, 25% and then again 25%, instead of retaliating firmly, our Prime Minister chose to remove import duty on cotton. 11% import duties were removed. And when the farmers protested against that in Gujarat, they were put behind bars. Our party leaders were put behind bars. हजारों किसान जो वहां पे प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं इसके खिलाफ because Americans have flooded our market. और जो जायज बात है, किसान अपनी आवाज उठा रहे हैं तो उन्हें जेल में डाला जा रहा है.
Okay.
What kind of diplomacy is this?
Okay, one second. Let's just stick to the subject. You are saying
there's no denial today. There's no rejection
is a denial today.
There's no reaffirmation of India's independent right to decide where it should buy its energy from.
No, but so many facts that I have put in front of you, can anyone deny them? When India denied, the Indian MEA denied so many times that this ceasefire was mediated between India and Pakistan, that Pakistan DGMO asked Indian DGMO for the ceasefire, did US ever deny? Trump says one thing, but the US administration has never denied the fact that this mediation never happened.
Even our Prime Minister never took the name of President Donald Trump, and even he didn't deny. We asked him even in the parliament session, कि आप बोलिए कि उन्होंने सीज़फायर नहीं कराया था, लेकिन डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प का नाम नहीं लिया गया. पता नहीं ऐसी क्या दुखती
डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प का नाम नहीं लिया जाता,
वो नाम तक नहीं लेते. And
Karan,
this carefully drafted bland statement by the MEA, it mentions that it's only a bureaucratic line which says broad basing and diversifying energy sources, along with a mention of expanding import with the United States. ये कहाँ पे कह रहा है कि जी नहीं हम तो रशिया से खरीदेंगे, ये तो बल्कि कह रहे हैं कि हम यूएस से खरीदेंगे.
Okay, fair enough. There isn't a categorical denial of what the US president has claimed. And secondly, if Prime Minister's name itself is being dragged in, Karan, by the US president, should the Indian Prime Minister not respond? It's become about his name now. It's actually become he said, she said, unfortunate. But then how do we tackle this if the US president is naming Indian Prime Minister?
So, Shivani, at the outset, that's not how mature democracies behave. If Donald Trump, a known loudmouth, who happens to call Canada as his 51st state, if he's behaving in this irrational manner, doesn't mean we have to reciprocate and match up to him. That's not how mature democracies work. They work in a seasoned fashion. We have given retaliatory tariffs on steel and aluminium at the WTO level. We did not open up our dairy sector for them. We don't have to rub their nose in the mud every time when a negotiation is going on. Our actions speak louder than words, and that's precisely what this government has done. You ran an entire package at the beginning where we've not succumbed to any of this. Had we succumbed, we would have had a trade deal by now.
Yes.
That's a fact. Even for cotton, we've extended a deadline using it as a negotiation tactic till 31st December 2025. That's how democracy, that's how diplomacy works. We don't have to call out every Trump lie here if we want to make a deal at the end of the day with him. They are our largest trading partner. Yes, they've had a trade deficit with us. So we have been the benefactor in that sense, and we have to admit that. Having said that, yes, in the past also and going forward also, there have been times when we've revised our energy requirements from different countries. For example, with Russia, it was 40% last year. This time it's 36% of our requirements. With the US, it went up 6.8%. That doesn't mean we are going to stop buying from Russia. Donald Trump is known to gaslight and come up with such hideous statements time and again. Few days back, he said, who is this fool who has hired this Federal Reserve? Turns out it was Donald Trump in 2017 who had hired Powell. So we can't be taking Donald Trump literally. The fact is this opposition is extremely irresponsible. The moment Donald Trump said it's a dead economy, they lapped it up. Yes. Rahul Gandhi went on to say our economy is dead even though it was growing at 7.8%. The moment Donald Trump said, oh, I created this, they ran this entire Narendra surrender campaign. When in fact our DGMO is on record saying that it was the Pakistan DGMO who had called and begged for a cessation of operations.
No, forget that. It's not just what India has said.
Disobey everything that our authorities are saying, that
exactly.
our institutions are saying.
They want a mano-a-mano clash, by the way, between Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, but that doesn't benefit India in any way. So restraint on our side,
they don't care about it.
Should not
they
be seen
don't
as
care
weakness.
about India benefiting from it. That's what my position is. They do not care about our country. They want to see our country go down if in that process Modi fails.
Okay,
that
Anmol, you want to address
that
the opposition seems to be salivating at the fact that Narendra Modi's personal prestige may come down, ignoring the fact that this is more about the country versus a foreign country. You see the kind of belligerent mood that Donald Trump is in. That's not helping anybody in the world, forget India. But why, put the domestic politics of it above what is national interest?
Shivani ji, I find it quite amazing that even the BJP spokesperson today are not defending Modi's failed foreign policy. That's why they are not present on your debate. Secondly, if you'll go through Narendra Modi ji's Twitter timeline, you'll see that in the past 2 months, he has tweeted 4 times on Gaza. He has congratulated Donald Trump. He has tweeted more than 7 times about Donald Trump, whether it's birthday greeting or a routine bilateral talk or call or a ceremonial statement. He never misses an opportunity. But when it comes to defending India's dignity, India's sovereignty, his courage vanishes. एक बार भी डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के बारे में ये नहीं लिखा कि भाई साहब आपने मीडिएशन नहीं कराया था. एक बार भी ये नहीं लिखा उन्होंने कि रशिया से हम इंपोर्ट जो है ऑयल का बंद नहीं करेंगे. लेकिन और सारी बातों पे उनके लिए बोलने के लिए बहुत कुछ है. लेकिन जब देश की बात आए तब नहीं बोलते वो.
You have a fair point, and I think it is very clear as far as the Indian government is concerned. They're not going to do it Donald Trump's way. There's a certain way Indian bureaucracy functions, Indian diplomacy functions. They're going to stick to that. They're not going to change it just because they have, a joker in the pack in the name of Donald Trump. Also, you are very conveniently forgetting that India has made very bold moves when it comes to reigniting its relationship with China, vis-a-vis all BRICS countries, when it comes to making it clear to America that we are not going to bend as far as our strategic interests are concerned. I don't think we can look at it in isolation of what Modi has said or has not said and forget everything else. But Rajiv Dogra, I want to come to you. Is it a fair criticism that this MEA statement is too generic, too banal? It is Indian diplomacy at its best or worst, whichever way you want to put it. There is no categorical denial of what the US president claimed.
Well, firstly, I don't want to get into the domestic politics.
Sure.
Secondly, I'm not advocating anything on MEA's behalf. I am independent in my views, and I'll list why I am saying what I am saying. And most of it would be in support of what MEA has done and the Indian government has done. So let me make these caveats clear. Firstly, Donald Trump's character. He lives, according to all analyst, psychologist. He lives in a parallel universe of his own where the real world does not matter. Others' truths are lies for him. His lies are truth for him, is truth for him, and it should be accepted as truth by everyone else. We saw the way it happened in Sharm el Sheikh when prime ministers who should have some kind of a self-respect
Yes.
were acting like schoolboys saying, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir.
Yes.
As far as this issue is concerned of oil is not the only issue that Trump is driving at. He has a bigger agenda in mind. But before I come to that bigger agenda, let me also compare what the other 3 countries are doing. India, along with China, Russia, and Brazil, are the only countries which have stood up to Trump. Chinese Xi Jinping has not made even a single statement in response to whatever Trump has been saying. His Foreign Office spokesperson issues the statement as and when it is necessary, and that too on very select occasions. As far as Russia is concerned, Russian spokesperson, Putin's spokesperson, occasionally pipes up with something just to say that, stop being ridiculous. Putin has never made any personal remark or contradicted Trump because he knows what kind of a fish he is, Trump is. Brazil has another way of dealing with Trump, and Brazil again has gone ahead, imprisoned the former president, Bolsonaro, without caring for what Trump feels. As far as India is concerned, let me put some facts on ground. Number one, Rosneft has a big refinery in Jamnagar. As a Russian refinery, they need to import Russian oil. That stands to logic. I mean, otherwise, what will be Indian sovereignty for? That if you cannot give a foreign investor freedom of his purchase, then you are a puppet country. India has big stakes in Russian oil fields. Sakhalin, for example, about $1 billion+ are stuck there because of the American cussedness. So should we just say yes, sir, every time Trump dreams of something? Oil, as I said earlier also, is just the beginning. Trump's main aim is that India should stop its arms purchases from Russia so that it can be dependent entirely on America and at America's whims. If America does not supply us jet engines, so be it. We have to be very patient, wait for years. If America decides that even the aircrafts that it supplies should not have the full data, the secret data that is normally transferred with India, so be it. So if we just go down Trump's path, then we will go down the tube. And let me quote what major wise men of the world are saying, especially Warren Buffett. 2 days back, he said, if we keep going this way, the world will be in a bigger financial mess than in 2007, 2008. So I think India has handled Trump very well. And I'll give you an example of how India has handled. If there's a beehive, what do? Do you go and poke into it? Then you're inviting death. If you go anywhere near it, the bees will buzz you, which is exactly what Trump is doing. He'll keep on buzzing you till you react. India should not react, especially not at the political level. Neither at Prime Minister's level nor at Foreign Minister's level. Occasionally, India should set the record straight through the spokesperson, whose job it is to set the record straight.
Okay.
And I think India has done very well on that.
Okay. Tarakata, we've discussed this many times before. It's not ending. It doesn't look like as long as Donald Trump is the American president, it's going to end, regardless of what is the relationship between India and US. It may not be at its best, but you look at countries where there is a good relationship, at least on surface, and you see other world leaders also just kind of biting their lip or, kind of just grinning as Donald Trump makes them look like fools or children. At least the Indian Prime Minister, either by his absence at Sharm el Sheikh or by the fact that he's not engaging in this verbal war of what you said versus what I said, is, staying away from that sphere of Donald Trump's, maverick way of functioning.
Absolutely, Shivani. I would not at any time like my Prime Minister be standing behind the President Trump and sort of nodding his head. That is not how I would want a Prime Minister of mine, regardless of whether it's Congress or BJP. I don't care. I don't want my person going there. Number two is, I would advise Rahul Gandhi to go and fill up his car with petrol once in a while. Because what is interesting is when Ukraine war started, the price of petrol shot up. After that, because we were refining, we managed to stabilize that price to such a degree over the next 3 years. It's remained static. And that is what Modi has done for the Indian consumers. And that is his job, to make sure that we are not hit by inflation, and we were not. So I don't, even I think in fact Trump also said, I know he has a country to govern. This is the bottom line. Go and fill up petrol and see what it costs. Number three, the fact that Trump has actually never said anything directly against Mr. Modi. He always says he's a great leader, and all that. So he knows where to stop. That is, so there is, and lastly, I think Ambassador Dogra put it very well. Why would I want to go and, talk about everything that he says? I have to react. There is no need. And
But Tarakata, Donald Trump advertently or by mistake or deliberately, he has said, Prime Minister Modi has assured me, right? He could have said, India has assured us. He could have said, we have discussed this on the negotiating table. He didn't say that. He said, Prime Minister has assured me. So he did drag in the Indian Prime Minister's name.
He also said that we have Prime Ministers every year. I mean, so clearly in that same statement, he said that. He says India keeps changing its Prime Ministers. So I think he's getting mixed up between Pakistan and India. He doesn't. So there is one thing, however, in a term of realism, one thing we should realize is, because of the sanctions, a lot of oil is now coming on what you call ghost ships, different flagging. So the oil price, Russian oil price, is steadily going up. It may make sense. We will buy wherever the market is cheaper. So I think you are already from other sources. That is a natural thing that companies will do. And finally, the fact that one refinery, which I will not name, the US is the fourth largest buyer from that refinery of oil. So what sort of stuff is this?
Yeah.
No sense.
No, so it has gone from that hypocrisy and duplicity of, just hammering India on buying Russian oil to now suddenly, when they realize possibly that it's not going their way, attacking India, and that duplicity was being questioned back home in America, that why are you singling out India? Now they've gone another route. We've seen the breaking of ice that Trump attempted, and now suddenly they want to skirt this issue by saying, no, we've settled it. India has promised us that they're not going to buy Russian oil anymore. But the truth is completely different from that. Anmol, I want to just bring it back to why this issue is being dragged on in India. Is it because it also shows in some senses that the opposition is devoid of any real issues to attack the Narendra Modi government? Why don't you criticize them on things that are indeed, maybe not as well as they should be? I mean, this is not an area to attack Narendra Modi on, because the public, even the simplistic public on the ground, is understanding what is happening and that India is not bending to US. There's no proof that it has bent to US.
There's ample proof that our Prime Minister has bowed down before the US. He never issued a clear statement that it was not Donald Trump who mediated between India and Pakistan. In fact, the US President was the first one to tweet about the mediation. Secondly, despite imposing heavy tariffs on India, 50% tariffs on India, it was our Prime Minister who, instead of retaliating firmly, he removed the 11% cotton import duty, affecting millions of farmers.
Okay,
and
no,
now,
you said that.
Now, instead of our MEA, instead of choosing assertion, they have chosen ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
True
okay.
diplomacy
Karan,
requires
would
clarity.
this hurt
True
Narendra
diplomacy
Modi's
requires
image?
clarity, not
At the end of the
concealment.
day, already possibly some dampener has come on his relationship with certain leaders, particularly Donald Trump, the bonhomie that we used to talk about. Will this hurt Narendra Modi's image of a strong diplomatic leader?
Well, it's not hurting his image. You know, Shivani, the problem with our good friend, our AAP spokesperson, is that you'll remember there was a time when Arvind Kejriwal was obsessed with Prime Minister Modi. He used to utter his name in every press conference, every utterance. The Prime Minister never ever mentioned his name. And look what happened. Today, Arvind Kejriwal is reduced to irrelevance. He even lost his seat. So this is how this Prime Minister works, and this is how strength truly works. You answer through your actions. You don't really need to resort to name calling.
Okay.
But it's difficult for someone coming from AAP to comprehend that. That's what I feel.
You resort to voter manipulation. You resort to stealing elections on camera.
Don't have time for that debate today, but I do thank all of our guests for joining us. This continues to be our big focus, but time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you what else is a matter of concern for India, and that's the conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
But the other top story, of course, is the battle for Bihar. Well, fast-paced developments taking place with the first phase of the nomination now ending. It's just 24 hours really left to go for the first phase nomination deadline to end. Now, the BJP obviously has moved ahead. It's released its third and final list. The JDU has also released its candidate list. In the Mahagathbandhan, the Congress has named 12 candidates. The opposition bloc is yet, however, to announce their seat-sharing formula. We are learning that Congress and the CPI are eyeing the same seats in Begusarai, which is what is delaying the announcement. And also the fact that no meeting has yet been held between the top leaders of the Mahagathbandhan. In a fresh setback for the opposition, Pashupati Paras, the party RLJP, will be contesting elections in an alliance with overseas party AIMIM in Bihar. NDA is all geared up. Suspense, however, continues within the opposition camp as far as the seat-sharing final formula is concerned. Let's listen in to all the reactions, and I'm going to go across to my colleague, Shireen.
बिहार की एनडीए सरकार ने हाल में जो महिला रोजगार योजना शुरू की है, उससे बहनें बहुत खुश हैं। बिहार की 1 करोड़ 20 लाख बहनों के खाते में हर एक बहन को 10,000 रुपए भेजे जा चुके हैं। आप इन बहनों से मिलिए। आप इन बहनों को ये जरूर बताइए कि ये पैसा सिर्फ एक बार की मदद नहीं है, ये नया रोजगार करने का प्रोत्साहन है। और अब ये पैसों के मालिक वही है। आप उन्हें बताइए कि इस पैसे से वो जो काम शुरू करेगी उसे आगे बढ़ाने के लिए और उस काम को देख करके हम और भी मदद करने वाले हैं।
लगातार 2 बार से राघोपुर की जनता जो है हम पर भरोसा की है और जनता जो है मालिक है, और ये तीसरी बार जो है हमने नामांकन जो है राघोपुर से की है। बेरोजगारी को जड़ से हमको मिटाना है, बिहार को आगे ले जाना है। लोग त्रस्त हो चुके हैं भ्रष्टाचार से, अपराध से। अब बिहार जो है अपराध मुक्त, भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त प्रदेश बनना चाहता है।
रणनीतिक रूप से जो बिगड़ी हुई चीज़ थी अब बन रही है क्या?
मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि स्थिति स्पष्ट नजर आती है। भाजपा ने सभी उम्मीदवार घोषित कर दिए, एनडीए के उम्मीदवारों की घोषणा हो गई, लेकिन महागठबंधन में जूते चप्पल चल रहे हैं, कपड़े फाड़े जा रहे हैं, मार पिटाई हो रही है। लालू प्रसाद यादव मुर्दाबाद के नारे लग रहे हैं, कांग्रेस के प्रभारी को पीटा जा रहा है, कहीं कुछ और चल रहा है। तो एक तरफ से एनडीए आगे बढ़ रही नजर आ रही है, दूसरी ओर आपसी उलझनों में फंसकर महागठबंधन रह गया है। और यहाँ तक कि दलितों का अपमान सीधे रूप में नजर आता है। पहले लालू प्रसाद यादव जी ने अंबेडकर जी के आगे पांव रख के, बिल्कुल फोटो के सामने पांव रख के उनका अपमान किया। कांग्रेस तो अंबेडकर जी का शुरू से ही अपमान करती रही, लेकिन जिस तरह से प्रदेश अध्यक्ष दलित हो, मारपीट हो, अपमान हो, महागठबंधन में दलितों का कोई स्थान ही नहीं है।
आपने कई राज्यों के चुनाव देखे हैं और हम इस विधानसभा चुनाव में जब आप ये कहते हैं कि जैसे कुशवाहा की नाराजगी है, मांझी की झिझक है और चिराग की जो माथा है वो तन गया है, इन चीज़ों को डील करने में कितनी कठिनाई आई है और आने वाले दिनों में आएगी भी बीजेपी को?
मैं एक बात स्पष्ट कहूं, सब एकजुट एक स्वर के साथ यही कहते हैं, रफ्तार पकड़ चुका बिहार, फिर एक बार एनडीए सरकार।
Okay, Madhupanna has been travelling through Bihar. Today she is joining us from Siwan to get a sense from her. Madhupanna, on the ground, I know the BJP has made an issue about the Congress, for example, giving a ticket to Shahabuddin's son, or kin, if I'm not mistaken. But apart from that, sorry, the RJD, but what I'm saying is, apart from that, on the ground, this sense of disarray within the Mahagathbandhan, do you think that is something which could hurt them? Because after all, you know, the campaign should have started, you know, and at least some kind of an organization. Okay, I'm going to try and connect with Madhupanna, but she's joining us from Siwan. The point is that the contrast is so stark and telling. On one hand, you clearly see the NDA has its house in order. They've announced all the three lists, which the BJP did late last night, and very carefully balancing the caste factor, women also being given tickets. Same is the case as far as the JDU is concerned, so as the Chirag Paswan party is concerned. Their readers are already on the ground. The BJP leaders have their charts chalked out for them. They know where they have to go, what kind of campaign, big bang announcements. But look at what has happened on the other side. In Mahagathbandhan, the cookie, so to say, is crumbling. There are parties who still have no clarity on how many seats they are going to be getting. That important final seat sharing talk, which should have taken place by now. Okay, Madhupanna is back with us from Siwan. Madhupanna, that's what I was asking. I mean, the contrast between the two sides are so stark. You know, the Mahagathbandhan not sorted out, NDA very much sorted out, hitting the ground. On the ground where you are, is this something which the people are talking about?
Welcome back. A fragile ceasefire has been announced between Afghanistan and Pakistan following deadly border clashes that erupted in early October, marking the worst violence between the two countries since the Taliban took power in Kabul in 2021. Airstrikes and ground fighting along the border of Spin Boldak in Afghanistan and Chaman in Pakistan killed dozens of civilians and wounded over 100 people. Pakistan is accused, remember, the Afghan Taliban of harboring militants responsible for attacks inside Pakistan. The Taliban denies these allegations and accuses Pakistan of provoking tensions and sheltering ISIS-linked militants. Now, a 48-hour ceasefire was announced yesterday, but both sides contradicted each other on exactly who requested it. So, who blinked first? This is what we are learning. Pakistan complained to Doha and Qatar about these skirmishes. Pakistan told Doha that Taliban should act under the Doha Accord. Qatar told Islamabad instead that they should announce the ceasefire as this is an uneven war. Remember, Afghanistan doesn't really have a military. Qatar is reported to have said that while Afghanistan is attacking your military, Pakistan is attacking their civilians and refugees in your countries. So this is the unequal war that is going on, and clearly Pakistan was told to relent. Let's also take a look at how this conflict has affected both sides. This is via claims, but also some accepted losses on ground. So Pakistan claims it killed over 200 Afghan fighters and destroyed multiple Taliban posts and camps. Afghanistan claims it killed 58 Pakistani soldiers, captured 25 Pakistani posts and seized weapons and tanks. Not all of these claims can be independently verified. But what Pakistan did confirm uniquely was the loss of 23 soldiers in this conflict, while many more were wounded, including 4 civilian injuries. On the other side, up to 45 Afghan fighters have been killed reportedly, several injured, but civilian losses have been much higher on the Afghan side, naturally. So from an Indian point of view, should we be worried about what's going on, or is Pakistan just getting its just returns? KGS Dinlo, Lieutenant General from a GOC command, is joining us with the Indian point of view. Lieutenant General Dillon, former GOC 15 Corps of the Indian Army, is with us. Sir, thanks a lot for joining us and for your time. I want to begin by asking you, from an Indian point of view, how do we look at these clashes? even if there's a temporary so-called ceasefire. We'll come to that in just a bit. But from an Indian perspective, should we be in some ways glad, if not happy, that Pakistan army is under pressure from another neighbor? Or could this be a problem for us, given that this could lead to instability in the region?
Good evening, Shivani, and good evening to all your viewers. First of all, as a basic rule of peaceful coexistence, the neighborhood which is peaceful and calm and progressive is always best interest of everyone, including the neighbors. Now, having said that, India as a nation is a big power in South Asia, would like the South Asian region to be stable, economically stable, politically stable, as also from the other aspects of diplomacy and other things. Now, if that is not happening, and that is not happening because Pakistan per se is becoming or is already a home to global terrorism. And that is what is being seen on the Durand line or AFPAC border in last few days. And this is nothing new. This was expected. Because if you go by the history of Pakistan aligning with the past, when the Soviets were here, Pakistan aligned with the USA and other countries to fight the Soviets. When Soviets left, the USA left, and then Pakistan aligned with the Taliban to create terrorists who were being sent into Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes.
I was a young officer them, I fought a lot of them who came from Afghanistan through ISI and Pakistan. And when Taliban, after 9/11, when the USA came in again, Pakistan sided with USA and against Taliban. Now on 15th August 2021, when USA left, Pakistan again sided with Taliban and left USA. And now when USA again wants to come back in Bagram, now Afghans know this game very well. Pakistan will now again side with USA and be anti-Taliban or anti-Afghans. So in this sub-region of the South Asia, Afghans are very clear about Pakistan, that how they are going to behave, and they predicted this well for themselves. And that is when the origin of this trouble started. And we can discuss more as we have more questions. But this is the history of Pakistan's interest and their alliances and counter-alliances in the region.
Yes, absolutely.
There is no stability, there is no permanency, there is no, you can say, the honor code.
No, absolutely. The common factor in all of this has been the fact that Pakistan can change its allegiances depending on what it thinks suits itself better. There is no honor code, as you said. But again, how should India look at it? Could this be something that was just coming for Pakistan from India's point of view, or is there something to worry about for us?
Ma'am, Indian-Afghan relations go back in history, go back in tradition. We have grown up reading about Kabliwala and all those stories. And even Indian movies, the Bollywood, is very liked in Afghanistan. So we have a cultural and historic and traditional ties with Afghanistan, including during the British Indian times. And now this type of instability or instability in the region is not good for anyone, is not good for the region, it's not good for India. Because at the end of the day, if it fans out more, the nearest person who can be affected or nearest nation which can be affected is India.
Yes.
And we have very fragile borders, we have very fragile enemies, including Pakistan. So I don't think in the long run, this instability is going to be in India's favor. There are many people who feel enemy is a friend. No, that's perfectly fine. We are friends with Afghanistan without there being enemies to Pakistan or otherwise. So we must bilaterally deal with nations. Pakistan is a rogue nation. We know how to deal with it. We will deal with it. Afghanistan is a friendly nation and we have a common interest and shared interest. We must deal with them. And if Pakistan and Afghanistan are having issues, in the long run, they both cannot afford a prolonged war.
Exactly.
Because of their very, very fragile economies. And Afghanistan's very, either say, non-existent military, and Pakistan, the military being corrupt and other things, and politics in Pakistan, lesser said the better. So it's a very fragile area. I don't think there is a scope for any experimenting in this area for the regional peace.
You know, you mentioned India-Afghanistan relationship. All of this is happening in the backdrop of India-Taliban administration relationship moving forward. We've just had the Taliban foreign minister come to India. In fact, in Pakistan, they're looking at this very suspiciously. They're even blaming India for having played some role. But clearly, this relationship is moving forward. Realities are setting in. If push comes to shove, would India be open to intervening as far as this conflict is concerned? Do you see any sort of situation arising where India would need to intervene?
Ma'am, historically, India has never intervened in any international conflict between second or the third country.
True.
Either it has done so under UN Charter or under a bilateral agreement, something like Sri Lanka or Operation Pawan. Unless that happens, unless the host country invites us and we find it in the interest of the region to go and militarily or politically intervene or side with the nation, I don't think our history, our culture, our tradition, our military ethos, our military values dictate that we should intervene in two countries. Yes, politically, friendly nation, gestures, mediating is always there, which has a most stable state in the region. I think it's a duty and we must do that duty. But militarily intervention, I don't see it coming unless there is the proper invitation or there is a UN charter which dictates India to go and do a military intervention.
Okay, I want to come to this conflict proper. We've seen that the Afghanis have revealed that it is the Pakistani military. They say that the Pakistani military begged them for a ceasefire, which reminds us of what happened during Operation Sindoor 1.0 as well between India and Pakistan. In some ways, Pakistan is becoming the laughing stock of the region.
Absolutely, ma'am. Pakistan as a country, as a nation, has mastered the art of surrenders and ceasefires.
Yes.
And also has mastered the art of deniability.
Yes.
You know, it is on record. The DGMO recordings are, kept as a evidence, telephonic conversations. It is on record that 3:35, 10th May of 2025, Pakistani DGMO called up Indian DG military operations and begged for ceasefire. And it was declared that based on the Pakistan's request, we accept their request, even in spite of being in a winning position, and we could cause more damage. But we accept as a responsible nuclear power, as a responsible nation, and we accept the ceasefire. And now I saw a clip where the Prime Minister is saying, early morning I received a call that Indians are asking for a ceasefire. Early morning, so your air bases were getting hit.
Yes, that's what he said earlier.
That is the time when you are asking for ceasefire.
Yes.
Anyway, ma'am, leave apart that because it's a non-serious issue. They asked for ceasefire from India and they went to Saudi Arabia and Qatar to ask for ceasefire from Afghanistani side, and which Afghanistan honored. It's a 48 hours ceasefire. It's a fragile time. And the most important point in this whole ceasefire, holding or not holding, is whether Pakistan will honor and respect the Afghan pride or not. In this whole game, Afghan pride is the most important term of reference, which was hurt by Pakistan a number of times, and Afghans took it. They let it slide, they let it pass. They gave various versions or reasons for whatever attacks or skirmishes Pakistan was doing. They allowed it to, pass. But not this time. When they used the air power,
yes,
Afghanis made sure they brought it down to their strength. That is the guerrilla warfare. They so beautifully brought it down. That is the art of war. They brought in the air warfare to guerrilla warfare. And then they beat them at it. They took their prisoners, they killed their soldiers, and they showed the whole world.
Yes.
The narrative war, the narrative battle, the way they handled the social media and everything. Pakistan has no space or room to deny what damage Afghans have caused. And very reluctantly, on the first day, they accepted 23 fatal casualties.
Yes.
It's the first time Pakistan is accepting fatal casualties. If they're accepting 23, anyone's guess how many
actually happened. Yes, yes. So my final question was going to be exactly this. This is a fragile ceasefire, fragile time. But given that everything that Donald Trump, for example, is attempting with Pakistan, his interest being catered to by Pakistan, deals about minerals, crypto, his interest in Bagram Air Base now. And Pakistan is virtually prostrating before the US. So how do you see this going forward? Can Afghanistan once again become a victim of US machinations, geopolitical interests that Donald Trump seems to be furthering for America now?
Unfortunately, the geostrategic location of Afghanistan is such that it will always be a battleground of outside powers because of the location per se. Now, having said that, the US interest in minerals, the rare earths, the US interest in Bagram airfield and cryptos and all that is the basic reason why Pakistan went in to hit Afghanistan. They thought they will hit Afghanistan, Afghanistan will accept it like every other year which has passed by, and they will walk in, take over the Bagram airfield, give it as a gift to US, and then they will come in, they will carry out the mining of rare earth, and everything will be good. But no, this time things were different. Afghans hit back, that thing failed, and now the KPK, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, is the biggest area of rare earth minerals. And Balochistan. If Americans have to come and mine in the KPK and Balochistan, this incident is going to remind Americans that you are not safe. Chinese are not safe here, and Americans will not be safe here. This incident has backfired on Pakistan in a big way in their re-emergence of alliance with the USA, which was happening in the recent past. And second thing which has backfired is the TLP, Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. After the Prime Minister was present on Israel-Hamas treaty signing or the negotiation, and that gave an indication or a clear-cut direction that they're working on two-nation formula. When they're working on two-nation formula of Israel and Palestine, that means recognition of Israel as a nation happened in that meeting. Now, recognition of Israel as a nation in Pakistan is not acceptable. Now, that was a strategic blunder. And that is where the normal Pakistani is not happy with the dispensation and the deep state. Normal Pakistani is quite okay if they're being robbed, if the officials are corrupt, the military is corrupt, the politicians are corrupt. They somehow have got used to it. Normal Pakistani is not much bothered if someone is coming and taking away wealth, taking away minerals. They have somehow got used to it. But the only thing after Zia-ul-Haq, which they were living on, was Islamic pride and Pakistani being a nuclear state and anti-Jews and anti-Hindus. Now, once that is hit, a normal Pakistani on the street is a shattered man. And he's a man who is now wanting to question the deep state. So interesting times in the region, and not a very good situation to be in the neighborhood. But I am very sure the watchers who are keeping a watch in this region in the authority, they're actually aware what's happening, and they'll do everything in the best interest of India.
Okay. I leave it at that. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. And thanks a lot, KJS Dillon, for joining us and explaining this entire conflict and what it can mean for India and for the region. On that note, time for me to take your leave. News and updates continue in just a minute.
Icons inspire, but the invincible define an era. Witness the unveiling of India's invincible icons on a stage that crowns greatness. CNN News 18 India of the Year 2025 coming soon. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
But the other top story, of course, is the battle for Bihar. Well, fast-paced developments taking place with the first phase of the nomination now ending. It's just 24 hours really left to go for the first phase nomination deadline to end. Now, the BJP obviously has moved ahead. It's released its third and final list. The JDU has also released its candidate list. In the Mahagathbandhan, the Congress has named 12 candidates. The opposition bloc is yet, however, to announce their seat-sharing formula. We are learning that that Congress and the CPI are eyeing the same seats in Begusarai, which is what is delaying the announcement. And also the fact that setback for the opposition, Pashupati Paras, the party RLJP, will be contesting elections in an alliance with overseas party AIMIM in Bihar. NDA is all geared up. Suspense, however, continues within the opposition camp as far as the seat sharing final formula is concerned. Let's listen in to all the reactions, and I'm going to go across to my colleague Shirin.
बिहार की एनडीए सरकार ने हाल में जो महिला रोजगार योजना शुरू की है, उससे बहनें बहुत खुश हैं। बिहार की 1 करोड़ 20 लाख बहनों के खाते में हर एक बहन को 10,000 रुपए भेजे जा चुके हैं। आप इन बहनों से मिलिए, आप इन बहनों को ये जरूर बताइए कि ये पैसा सिर्फ एक बार की मदद नहीं है, ये नया रोजगार करने का प्रोत्साहन है और अब ये पैसों के मालिक वही है। आप उन्हें बताइए कि इस पैसे से वो जो काम शुरू करेगी उसे आगे बढ़ाने के लिए और उस काम को देख करके हम और भी मदद करने वाले हैं।
लगातार 2 बार से राघोपुर की जनता जो है हम पर भरोसा की है और जनता जो है मालिक है और ये तीसरी बार जो है हमने नामांकन जो है राघोपुर से की है। बेरोजगारी को जड़ से हमको मिटाना है, बिहार को आगे ले जाना है। लोग त्रस्त हो चुके हैं भ्रष्टाचार से, अपराध से। अब बिहार जो है अपराध मुक्त, भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त प्रदेश बनना चाहता है।
रणनीतिक रूप से जो बिगड़ी हुई चीज थी अब बन रही है क्या?
मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि स्थिति स्पष्ट नजर आती है। भाजपा ने सभी उम्मीदवार घोषित कर दिए, एनडीए के उम्मीदवारों की घोषणा हो गई, लेकिन महागठबंधन में जूते चप्पल चल रहे हैं, कपड़े फाड़े जा रहे हैं, मार पिटाई हो रही है। लालू प्रसाद यादव मुर्दाबाद के नारे लग रहे हैं, कांग्रेस के प्रभारी को पीटा जा रहा है, कहीं कुछ और चल रहा है। तो एक तरफ से एनडीए आगे बढ़ रही नजर आ रही है, दूसरी ओर आपसी उलझनों में फंसकर महागठबंधन रह गया है और यहाँ तक कि दलितों का अपमान सीधे रूप में नजर आता है। पहले लालू प्रसाद यादव जी ने अंबेडकर जी के आगे पांव रख के, बिल्कुल फोटो के सामने पांव रख के उनका अपमान किया। कांग्रेस तो अंबेडकर जी का शुरू से ही अपमान करती रही, लेकिन जिस तरह से प्रदेश अध्यक्ष दलित हो, मारपीट हो, अपमान हो, महागठबंधन में दलितों का कोई स्थान ही नहीं है।
आपने कई राज्यों के चुनाव देखे हैं और हम इस विधानसभा चुनाव में जब आप ये कहते हैं कि जैसे कुशवाहा की नाराजगी है, मांझी की झिझक है और चिराग की जो माथा है वो तन गया है, इन चीज़ों को डील करने में कितनी कठिनाई आई है और आने वाले दिनों में आएगी भी बीजेपी को?
मैं एक बात स्पष्ट कहूं, सब एकजुट एक स्वर के साथ यही कहते हैं, रफ्तार पकड़ चुका बिहार, फिर एक बार एनडीए सरकार।
Okay, Madhupanna has been travelling through Bihar. Today she is joining us from Siwan to get a sense from her. Madhupanna, on the ground, I know the BJP has made an issue about the Congress, for example, giving a ticket to Shahabuddin's son, or kin, if I'm not mistaken. But apart from that, sorry, the RJD, but what I'm saying is, apart from that, on the ground, this sense of disarray within the Mahagathbandhan, do you think that is something which could hurt them? Because after all, you know, the campaign should have started, you know, and at least some kind of an organization. Okay, I'm going to try and connect with Madhupanna, but she's joining us from Siwan. The point is that the contrast is so stark and telling. On one hand, you clearly see the NDA has its house in order. They've announced all the 3 lists, which the BJP did late last night, and very carefully balancing the caste factor, women also being given tickets. Same is the case as far as the JDU is concerned, so as the Chirag Paswan party is concerned. Their readers are already on the ground. The BJP leaders have their charts chalked out for them. They know where they have to go, what kind of campaign, big bang announcements. But look at what has happened on the other side. In Mahagathbandhan, the the cookie, so to say, is crumbling. There are parties who still have no clarity on how many seats they are going to be getting. That important final seat sharing talk, which should have taken place by now. Okay, Madhuparna is back with us from Sivan. Madhuparna, that's what I was asking. I mean, the contrast between the two sides are so stark. You know, the Mahagathbandhan not sorted out.
Joining us now is Sohail Shaheen, spokesperson of the Afghan Taliban, and he knows, he has a look into what the thinking within the Taliban establishment is in Afghanistan. Mr. Shaheen, thank you for speaking with us. My first question to you, what is your response to the Pakistani attack on civilians in Afghanistan and the current situation along the Afghan border?
First of all, I would say we were not the first to attack. They attacked Paktika province in the east of the country. We retaliated.
Okay.
Secondly, they bombed the civilian areas, which led to casualty among the civilians, and more than 100 were injured and tens of them martyred. So this, I think, this very atrocities